Greetings from the Eccentric Man, and I finally get to play a game of What a Cowboy. It's a Too Fat Lardy game that should be coming out sometime later this year. The Eccentric Man YouTube channel is kindly sponsored by those nice people at Lost Ark Games in Stevenage. Come down to the store, check out the gaming, and buy your goodies from them. This game was being run by Lee Jackson, and I've got to say the terrain that he had was fantastic, but this was just a small amount of the buildings that he's got, and underneath the table there were boxes of more. However, you don't have to have all these buildings to play What a Cowboy. It's got a really nice campaign system, which you can set off in little canyons or out at a ranch, so you only need one or two buildings, and the world is your oyster. So, how does this game play? Well, if you've already played What a Tanker, you're ahead of the game. What a Cowboy works on the same principles. You have a number of dice which you use to activate your characters, much like the tank dashboard, and you can use these dice to use your character. If you haven't played What a Tanker, I'll put a link to a video that I made of the game, and you can have a look at that. It's well worth getting if you like World War II and tanks. So how many cowboys do you need? Well, not too many. Best to have perhaps two in your hand, and that's what we played with on the day. How many opponents? Well, up to you. One aside, two aside, three aside, four aside. The more you put in, the longer it's going to probably take, but you can use two cowboys. And each cowboy is different in different capabilities. So you have sort of greenhorn, then you have a gunslinger, and you have a gunfighter, and you have a legend, and each one of those can work in a different way and get bonuses for their skills. I had a shootist. Yes, I think I've got to mention shootist. They were just one down from gunslingers. So I've got Dusty Bottoms, the shootist, and Drew Grit, who is the gunslinger, and they've got slightly different capabilities. On my team was Sydney Roundwood. Great to have a little game playing with him, and our scenario was we had to break into the post office and wreck the telegraph machine so that the deputies and the sheriffs and the marshals couldn't be summoned. I apologise once again to Sydney for my atrocious dice throwing throughout this game. If I rolled a dice, you could guarantee if I rolled 4, I would get 3 ones. And that went on throughout the whole game. But that's part of life and playing the game. Rather than having a dashboard in What a Tanker, you have a cowboy activation sheet, and you can see there that it has the details of what level they are, and then you have your activation dice. So like What a Tanker, 1 is move, 2 is spot, 3 is aim, 4 and 5 are shoot and reload, and 6 is your wild dice where you can change it to one of the other types. So it runs much the same. Shock you get from wounds and shooting, and they can lose dice temporarily or permanently, and they affect the actions that you can take. And if you lose 3 permanent dice, you go down to 2 dice, I think it was 3 dice, you lose your person. They are taken out of the game. There were some nice little additional mechanics that popped up during the game, so that you can interrupt your opponent just at that critical moment and go for a fast draw to see who gets the drop. So that was really good. So our scenario had to get to the telegraph office and smash it up. Here's my man going very slow. Loads of dice, as you can see there, to move, but he didn't go very far at all. Moved about 4-5 inches, which was incredibly slow. But that was it. Double ones all the way around. As in all Lardy games, there's a bit of fun to be had, and there's a random event generator, and that did happen. And unfortunately, Sydney went off dogging. Well, a stray dog attacked him, but he was able to force it off and get it away. Here you can see Drew Grit, my gunfighter, finally managing to get round the corner of the building and get onto the steps. You can see 2 of our opponents, the little guys, hiding round the edge of the building, the green building opposite, waiting to get a chance to take a shot. Sense an opportunity, our opponents moved one of their gunfighters out to take a shot at Sydney's characters. Unfortunately, my position meant that I couldn't get a shot in, so I thought I had to do something else. So, managed in the next turn to move him down the steps, and then, fortunately, across the street to take a bit of cover. That kept me safe, but my opponent did move across another of his characters to be behind McGinn's bar. A gunfight broke out with Sid's guys and my Dusty Bottoms taking on our opponents, and it didn't go too well. I mean, the game mechanisms doesn't mean that you get automatic outright kills, so they can take some serious wounds, but there is still an opportunity for them to take actions and to shoot up until their activation dice are gone. Another one of the nice little game mechanics is that bystanders can get involved and take actions if something happens very close to them. So you're never quite sure what might happen, but the bystanders could take a part. They could run away, they could take a shot, they could do something. So always got to be wary of what's going to happen. Well, as the game went on, Drew Grit, that you can see here, he had been further back in the buildings, exchanging shots across the alley with one of the opponent's gunslingers, when I suddenly remembered that there was an objective to the scenario. We had got so engrossed in just trying to shoot and kill each other, we had forgotten what we were planning to do. But I did remember and headed off across the street. Fortunately, I made it into the post office and started to smash up the telegraph equipment. To do that, I had to roll a certain number of pips, and that was 12 on the dice. But you can only use your activation dices, like the ones, in your turn to roll that number of dice to get it to 12. Rolling ones a lot meant that it did take a little bit of time, but I did finally manage to do it, and we broke up the telegraph equipment and we won the game. However, we had already sort of won the game before that because we'd taken all the 4 gunfighters and the shooters out of the opponents. But we played on because I had one guy left. So, yeah, good fun. Well, great fun was had by us all playing the game, and very, very much enjoyed it. And thanks very much to Lee, who put the game on. Well, yes, I certainly will be getting into What a Cowboy. And I have painted up some people already. These are the plastic gunslingers from Great Escape Games. A cracking set, well worth getting hold of it. You can do such a good variety. So, word of caution, the rules are not set in stone yet. They're with Big Rich at Two Fat Lardies for their final tinkering and setting up, hopefully ready to be produced later this year. But hope you enjoyed the video, give you some idea of what's to come, look forward to, and to get your figures painted and ready to go on the table. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. You can put questions down below and I'll answer as best as I can. Hit the notification buttons if you haven't already, and subscribe. Many thanks, and see you soon.